Season 2 of Invincible has some of the broken power skills in the series. We're talking about monsters that can tear through Viltrumites, Omni-Man feats to start pushing into black hole level territory, and Viltrumites being described at speeds that reach millions of times faster than light.
It's a couple galaxies away, give or take. I mean, not very far. You'd go, it doesn't matter.
Season 2 is where the power hierarchy stops being stable and starts breaking. So if you thought Season 1 Mark was impressive, this season is where you realize he's still climbing a ladder that never ends, and we're gonna break all these down step by step. So the next time you trash talk online, you know what you're talking about. So again, for this video too, we're sticking strictly to what actually happened. We'll look at what characters actually do, how they move in fights, what they can take, and what the difference is between just surviving an encounter and actually keeping up, because that gap matters. It's what differentiates strong fighters to monsters that are actually invincible. So where exactly is Mark at the start of Season 2? Episode 1, not much time has passed since the Omni-Man fight, only about a month later, and Mark is still adjusting to everything that happened. We see Mark dealing with multiple Mauler twins. You'd think Mark could just blitz through them, but once they jump him all at once, he got turned into a punching bag. Mark did survive though, and actually fights through it, so he's still physically powerful, but can't outpower everything around him either. Mark is clearly stronger than he was at the beginning of Season 1, but compared to the stronger monsters showing up in the season, there's still a noticeable gap, and this is gonna bite him hard later with the Anissa fight. Before that, let's take a look at episode 3 and 4, because we got our first calibration on the Viltrumites, and it's not even a joke. The Unipan invasion is the first example. We're told the Unipans were destroyed within just a couple of days by a swarm of Viltrumites. Days! Guys, days! These people are moving different. Now pair that with the Viltrumite travel speed, Nolan's return from trackside, and it is said that it would take around 6 Earth days while moving at insane speeds. The minimum estimate for that trip comes out to around 12.2 million times faster than light, and depending on the actual distance being used, the estimate can go even higher to around 32,698,413 times the speed of light. Now, okay, calm down, I hear you typing in the comments already. This is space travel speed only, not combat speed, reaction speed, or movement speed on Earth. Just long distance movement through space. Or is it? Because episode 4 pushes that scale even further with the black hole scene. Omni-Man is near a black hole and he doesn't even struggle staying on a single spot. Piccolo would be proud. At the same time, he's also pulling the insect alien spacecraft away from it. That's one of the biggest physical feats shown in the season, because he's resisting the pull while moving another object away at the same time. Now, is this the base speed and the strength for all Viltrumites? Well, let's take a look at Mark versus the Viltrumites. During the fight, Mark briefly overwhelmed Stula, and he actually stood his ground with them. After Nolan gave him the pep talk, of course, but that alone is a major jump from where he was back in Season 1, because now Mark is actually lasting in fights involving real Viltrumites instead of getting folded immediately. But when we look closer, there's a clear gap between Mark and fighters operating at Nolan's level. During the battle, Mark lands hits on Thula, and even controls parts of the exchange, but the fight doesn't stay in Mark's favor. Later on, he gets caught off guard and drops. He couldn't even fight General Krieg after, so even though Mark can fight back for a while, the season makes it clear he's not equal to stronger Viltrumites yet. Then Nolan steps in, kills Thula, kills Viter, and he continues fighting an injured Lucan. By the way, Lucan is still throwing hands while literally holding his own organs from spilling out. That's one of the craziest endurance feats shown by the Viltrumites all season, and it perfectly shows the difference Mark is dealing with. So by this point in Season 2, Mark is clearly capable of surviving battles involving real Viltrumites, but surviving them and being equal to them are two very different things. So the gap between Mark and Nolan is still very large. In order to even get close to that level, he had to be invincible. But wait, is that a bird? Huh? A plane? No, that's Alan. Alan's return. Episode 5 gives us something really interesting. Alan comes back and he's clearly way stronger than before, thanks to Mr. Thesaurus over here. Back in Season 1, Alan is strong, but compared to a Viltrumite, he died in seconds, and somehow comes back looking like he spent 6 months on the universe's most illegal steroid cycle. He's stronger, he's faster, he's better. And later in the season, we even see him playing around with Anissa. We'll come back to that in a bit, because Alan's return introduces one of the most important patterns in the entire series. In Invincible, surviving brutal damage can completely change a character's level afterwards, and once you notice that pattern with Alan, it starts making Mark's growth make a lot more sense too. He gets destroyed, barely survives, comes back stronger later. Season 1 started that process, Season 2 kept pushing it further, which raised a pretty interesting question mark. Does this only apply to Mark and Alan, or are there other monsters in this universe getting stronger the exact same way? Season 2 Earth feats and introduction of other galaxy feats. Well, let's look at episode 6 because most of you probably glazed over this. We got snippets of Nolan's nighttime diaries. One thing it quietly confirms is that Viltrumites, despite being absurdly powerful, do have limits. Nolan described a planet far, 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 far away, with gravity so intense that even he and another Viltrumite struggle to move and function there. We also see the creatures native to that world tearing through a female Viltrumite like she's made out of paper. One thing Invincible keeps reinforcing is that power doesn't belong exclusively to Viltrumites. Put life on a world harsh enough and eventually something evolves that can make even Viltrumites look vulnerable. The journal also mentions something called the Infinity Ray used by Space Racer. It is said it can pierce virtually any matter there is. The season doesn't explain much about it here, but its mere existence expands the scale of the universe even further. I guess it's called the Infinity Ray because it would take an actual infinity to actually even destroy a solar system. Now, okay, these are feats from other planets. Let's go back to Earth for a bit because these are no jokes. The biggest one is Rexplode. During the fight, Rex loses an arm, he's heavily injured, bleeding badly, and then gets shot through the head. But even after all that, he still managed to talk shit and is able to kill the Lizard King. That's one of the most extreme endurance feats shown by a human level character in the season. Then there's the Immortal feat. He launched himself from headquarters into space. The speed needed for that movement was estimated to be around 1,022,000 meters per second, which falls into the massively hypersonic plus range for movement speed. Final power jump. So while episode 6 expands the scale of the universe, it also reminds us that Earth still has a few monsters of its own. But even after all that, the biggest question of the season still hasn't been answered. Where exactly does Mark fit into all this? We've seen Viltrumites wiping out civilizations, Nolan performing some of the craziest feats seen in the series, Alan coming back stronger than ever, we've seen creatures capable of tearing through Viltrumites, but what happens when Mark has to face someone operating near the very top of the food chain? Well, episode 7 answers that question. Anissa, early on, she destroys the kaiju in a single attack. That matters, because the kaiju was already treated as a major threat earlier in the story, and Anissa just removed it. Now Mark is gonna fight that same monster. From the moment she engages, it's clear she's on a different level. She speed blitzes him during the fight and completely takes control of the exchange. The fight keeps escalating. She hits Mark hard enough to send him directly into the ground. The impact creates a crater along with a large fissure spreading through the area after he crashes. The episode keeps pushing the idea that Anissa is operating above the level Mark can currently handle, as well as being faster than Nolan. Which is crazy because Nolan was already shown performing some of the biggest feats earlier in the season. So this raises the ceiling for stronger Viltrumites even higher. Then Alan enters the fight and completely shatters the scale. We see him with his new strength. Alan punches Anissa hard enough to make her bleed immediately. At the same time, her attacks affect Alan far less than they affected Mark earlier in the fight, if not no effect at all. That's a major difference compared to how Alan scaled earlier in the series where he was considered weaker than a single Viltrumite. So overall, this episode showed us that Mark is being gapped hard by other monsters. Okay, Mark is strong and has absolutely become far stronger than he was in season 1. He can survive fights involving Viltrumites now, he can stay in exchanges longer and directly participate in battles that earlier versions of him cannot, but the stronger Viltrumites are still operating above his current level, and even Alan scales above him as well. The final verdict. So by the end of season 2, Mark's attack power is far above where he started earlier in the series, and he's now capable of directly contending with Viltrumites for solid periods during fights. This alone is a massive change from the beginning of the story. Then there's the space travel scaling surrounding Viltrumites throughout the season. The series introduces travel speed reaching massively faster than light ranges through long distance movement in space, but again that only applies to travel speed and reaction time. Unfortunately, this season does not directly prove those same speeds as Mark's combat speed or reaction speed during those fights on Earth. But durability is where Mark really evolved. By the end of the season, he's surviving direct encounters with Viltrumites repeatedly. That includes opponents operating on a level far above what he faced earlier in the series. But overall, season 2 is not really about Mark becoming the strongest character yet. It's about him surviving long enough to stand in fights that season 1 Mark could never have handled at all. Season 1 showed Mark becoming powerful. Season 2 put everything into perspective. Mark is still stronger, but the universe is still way ahead of him. And if you think that's the end of the scaling jump, you haven't seen what season 3 brings to the table. And if you want to see that, or if you have other characters you want to scale, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, and let's talk.